Welcome back to the Deal Machine podcast, where we help you replace your income from your 9-to-5 job with real estate investing. We cover two strategies on here. The first is wholesaling. You get a property that's distressed and run down. You talk with the seller. It's not listed, but they're like, I just need to get rid of it. You get it under contract. And then before the closing date, you pass it off to Ryan Haywood, and he pays you a $5,000, $10,000, maybe even $15,000 finder's fee, depending on how good the deal is. And he closes on it before the closing date. You get to keep the cash and your hands free from the real estate, and you can go use that to market for another deal potentially. Let's say you wanted to do a bigger deal. My biggest deal has been the BRRRR strategy, where I made $100,000 this year. So when I was, I've always wanted to have rental properties so that could help me retire early. But I was going to run out of money real quick, making 25% down payments because I made $60,000 a year, right? So the BRRRR strategy is the answer. It also starts with finding distressed property, and then you get that under contract yourself for a good price, and then you fix it up, and it's worth 3 times as much. So you can refinance it, and you get 75% of the total value back when you put the financing on that property, which would pay for the 2/3 you used to buy it and fix it up. So then the mortgage is paid for by the tenant, and you've got a property that's cash flowing with no down payment in it. And you can keep doing that again and again with the BRRRR strategy. So that's what Ryan and I do. Hello, Ryan. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan, as you now know. And,
You're one of our top customers. You started in 2019. You did 400 plus deals. You have 63 rentals.
Yep.
So we're here to talk about objections when you're talking with the sellers of distressed properties, right? Because we all spend hard-earned time and money to go find the people who would be likely willing to sell. And then we have conversations with them to determine a price, etc. They also might be talking with other investors. So the more we build our sales skills in communicating with them, the more we could serve them better, essentially. So what's a common objection? Let's say you sent mail to a rundown property. They called and they said they wanted to sell it. Now you're at their house telling you, well, they have 5 other investors coming. What do you say to that, Ryan? At DealMachine, we believe you don't need 8 different tools to run one real estate investing business. Last November, we unveiled unlimited skip tracing. So instead of going to a third app, you could actually get all the skip tracing you need, unlimited contact info included in your subscription without incremental fees. Then last July, we also integrated a dialer into your existing DealMachine subscription, so you don't have to go to one of those apps. This November, we're having another DealMachine Unveiled event to share the latest innovations for your real estate investing business. Sign up at DealMachine.com/unveiled to join the live event and see what we're doing for you to help clear your roadblocks going into 2025. That's DealMachine.com/unveiled. How does that make you feel, by the way? Because
it used to make me feel like really antsy and nervous that there's other people coming in behind me and that I got to make my best offer right now. And so knowing that or hearing that when I first started, it would make me nervous.
And how did you overcome that nervousness feeling? How did you learn to handle those conversations so that you win those more than lose those?
Yeah, I learned that everything that they say is an opportunity for me to find out a little bit more information. Usually what would happen is I would make an offer and they would say, well, I'll follow back up with you. I've got 5 other people that are going to come and look at this. And for me, instead of just saying, yeah, okay, I would just ask, is there a dollar amount that would satisfy you enough that you would call and cancel those other 5 showings? Sometimes people would be like, yeah, if I could come up 10 grand, I wouldn't worry about showing it to anybody else. And to me, that doesn't say, okay, raise my offer 10,000. What that says is that they believe that there is a disconnect on what they were hoping to get and what I'm offering. So is there room in my offer to come up a little bit? And if there is, then I should adjust to that. So
I had a lady that truly did have another offer. It was higher than mine, but I knew my numbers and stuck to them. And I said, I wouldn't want to give you an offer I can't stick to.
Yeah.
This is how I could make this work. This is how I make my living. If you want to go ahead with that other offer, you should make sure that they can close on it. because a lot of people don't know their numbers as well as I do, and they might not be able to close. I stayed in touch with her every week, once a week, for the next month. And on that 4th week, she came crying. She's like, I can't believe it. I'm supposed to be on a plane to go move to my daughter's house from Indianapolis to Washington, and I have no deal. They can't close on the house. They tried to cut me down $25,000 on the price to make it work. And I refrained very hard. I really wanted to say, told you, but I had already kind of prepped her, right, about that scenario happening. So when it finally happened, she knew that I was the one to come to with a trustworthy price.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? What is there another objection that you get?
No,
That you're
just
about
kind
to
of
say?
talking back on that one. A lot of times when people say that, maybe they do have, other people coming, maybe they don't. But I typically get a call back even after they've had their showings. I'll get a call back and it'll be like, hey, this guy can offer this amount. Can you come up? And exactly like you were saying, typically I hold to my number and I just say, I'm confident that I can pay this.
Right.
Probably can't come up any more than that. If it doesn't work out with these other guys, call me back and I'll definitely close on the deal.
Man, yeah, it's so tempting. So tempting. You're like, another 7,500?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's how much an unexpected sewer line replacement costs.
Yep.
That's how much it
need that.
costs to hold the property for an extra 3 months when it doesn't sell or rent as fast as you thought it would. That's how much it costs to fix the dog urine that went through the real wood floor that you now can't just refinish that spot. You have to refinish the whole floor so that those hardwoods look seamless throughout. So that's just, and what happens if all 3 of those things happen, right? It's like, well, I just bought it too high.
Yeah.
And you go through all this money, all this effort to lose money or break even is just the absolute worst, right? It's the absolute worst.
Yep.
And so if you haven't had that happen yet, we want to give you this confidence to say, prevent that from ever happening by sticking with your numbers.
Yeah. Stick to your numbers. The number of times that people have called back and said, hey, I'll go ahead and take your deal. And even sometimes they get another wholesaler that overpromises. You don't want to be that guy because you want to be the guy that they come back to, not the one that overpromises and then can't deliver with another buyer. You want to make sure that you are in the position to close easily. You want to make sure that if you're wholesaling it, you want to make sure you know what your buyers are willing to pay before that you go out and start making offers on houses. And making sure that you just stick to the numbers, stick to the process. Don't try to go out on a limb and be like, well, if you flipped it, you could do this. No, just stick to the formula, because if you don't, every time that I've gone outside the box and like made an offer to help accommodate the seller more than what my numbers know,
for sure,
it never works out.
What's another objection?
I've heard, well, let me talk to my wife or let me talk to my husband about this. And I'm usually very quick to just say, do you guys both agree you're wanting to sell this property, correct? Oh, yeah. And so then I would just ask, do you foresee an objection from your spouse? Do you see them saying something that you could give me some feedback on now? Or is there a way that I could adjust my offer that would help you take the best deal to them? So
Ryan, you're using the sales objection framework. Hey, you look, first of all, they said, hey, I've got to talk to my wife. You're like, oh, I agree. That would be a good idea to have good communication with your wife. Question. Hey, did you guys, do you foresee any type of objections that your wife would have, right? That's what you just said, right? Yeah, cool. So I just wanted to review with you. You don't want to sign the deal now because your wife, you guys want to communicate, but you don't foresee any objections that she'd have, right? You're like, okay. And they're like, yeah, good. And now here's how to handle it. So, hey, you remember in class when you were in grade school, we all played the telephone game. You all circled up and you said a message And by the time it got back around, it was a changed message. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Well, I mean, I've spent, 40 minutes with you here right now, and that's been a lot of information. Do you think if you relay all that to your wife, that everything would be passed on, exactly the same? And I'm sure there'd be some change. So why don't we do this? How about we sign the contract today? And if for some reason your wife, wants to blow it up and has absolutely, total issue with this, we'll just tear it up, right? We'll even write that into the contract. So would that be okay with you? Because it seems like if we did that, you'd be able to communicate with your wife. You don't see any objections, but if she had one, we could rip up the contract. We'll put that in there within 24 hours. So would that be okay? Are there any other objections, any other reasons why you wouldn't want to sign this today? And so that's the sales objection framework.
Love it. See, I use it and I didn't even know it.
It's a good one if you talk about the telephone game.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to try the telephone game conversation.
So another objection that I've gotten is, well, I'm only going to sell my house if you give me $500,000, and I don't know what you do, Ryan, but to me, I'll say, hey, I know you want my offer, or they'll pressure me for the money, figure amount right before I even go out. And it's like, have you made the decision that you're going to sell your house? And you're like, well, it just depends on the right price. I won't go on those appointments. I'll say, hey, I'm only able to, serve those who've already decided they want to sell their house.
Yep.
We don't provide, free estimates or free appraisals or free evaluations as part of what our business does. Circle back if anything changes for you guys. The way we operate is, we've got a 30-minute process we want to do with you thoroughly at your house, so we can give you an offer that you can count on, that we'll trust. And if it becomes the case where you do decide that you've actually, wanted to sell your house, we'll be able to do that for you. Thank you so much. So how do you handle this? You do anything differently?
No, it's pretty much the same thing. And we get that a lot too. You send out a lot of postcards, you get people that call back and they're like, I'll sell it, but I want $500,000. And it's like, do you want to sell the house, or are you just wanting to see what somebody would offer you? Well, it says you'll buy it, so here it is. It's $500,000. If you're gonna buy it, this is what it is. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, look, I don't want to waste your time nor mine. If you're genuinely interested in selling that house and the market value is close to what you're asking for, I'll gladly come out and look at it. Then I ask them, I'm like, what's the address? And sometimes they won't give it. Usually they'll hang up on you, but sometimes they give it to you, and I can type it in to DealMachine. I can quickly see, okay, this house, look, the comps are saying 175. Like, what about this house why are you asking 500,000 for this house if everything else is like 175? Well, you said you would buy it with cash. So it's like, okay, you just got to recognize when they're being silly and just try to disconnect as quick as you can and not waste either of your time.
Yep. Well, cool. Let's wrap it there. Those are 3 common objections that you'll get when you're talking with a distressed property owner. And that's how you can actually punch through. And the more you do it, the more you'll be comfortable. So make an attempt each time. It's okay if it doesn't go your way the first time, but each rep, you'll get stronger, you'll get more familiar, it'll become more smooth and more natural, and that's how we learn. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.